Welcome to Women Lead, a production of the Women of Color Empowerment Institute. We are your hosts. I'm Michelle Austin Pammies.
I'm Kathy Eggleston.
And I'm Bernadette Norris Weeks. Our topic today addresses the plight of the black farmer in America. Our guest, our attorney Greg Francis, who won the largest civil rights settlement in the history of civil justice in the U.S., and Nikki Freed, Florida Department of Agriculture Commissioner.
In 1920, there were nearly 1 million black farmers in America. Today, there are less than 45,000 black farmers, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Black families have lost nearly 20 million acres of farmland and billions of dollars of generational wealth that land represented.
The loss of those millions of acres of farmland was primarily caused by a well-documented history of discrimination by the U.S. Department of Agriculture against black farmers, with the majority of that land loss happening since 1950.
The black farmers who have managed to hold on to their farms eke out a living making less than $40,000 annually compared to $190,000 for white farmers. Loss of acreage has had a lot to do with this disparity.
Yes, farmers of color having a difficult time securing a loan or receiving higher interest rates from loan offices, and in some cases not being able to get a loan at all, has been the norm.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a whole lot to talk about under this topic, and as someone who is the descendant of black farmers, you know, my family, I have wills that show we owned orange groves in Central Florida.
Wouldn't you like it now?
Yeah, I would like it now. Yes, exactly. In Merritt Island, Florida.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder what happened with that land.
Yeah, this is a subject that we don't talk about enough. So many of us, including myself, are descended from farmers, post-slavery, worked land, put coins together and purchased land, and made a way for us in America. And the loss of these farms is eye-opening to me and staggering.
And I must say that black people in general tend to want to stay away from farming, from agriculture, associating it in a certain way with slavery.
Mm-hmm.
But there's wealth building in owning that land.
Absolutely. And this is a conversation that we as people of color do not have often enough.
They play a crucial role. So we're going to hear more about them from our guests and about the problems they face. And I think we should support the black farmer and try to find out as much as we can so that we can do so.
Absolutely. And we have just the perfect guest for this episode of Women Lead. We'll be right back with our first guest, Greg Francis, civil rights attorney and author of the book called Just Harvest, a story of how black farmers won the largest civil rights case in the history of the United States.
Women Lead television show is being brought to you by Toyota, inspiring all of us to let's go places.
At the Women of Color Empowerment Institute, our mission is to enhance and expand leadership by women of color. We do this in a variety of different ways, including but not limited to providing mentorship opportunities for young professionals where we assist in helping to create paths to leadership. We empower women to develop capacities for social change. We produce programs that promote heritage awareness, and we provide training opportunities for business and government. Our institute holds seminars focused on professional success techniques, and we host many other events such as our popular Advocates for Change and Leaders Connect. The Women of Color Empowerment Institute publishes a magazine called Women Lead. Our signature event is the Women of Color Empowerment Conference, a yearly conference where hundreds of leaders gather from all across the United States and beyond. To learn more about membership and how you can support our programs or be a sponsor of the Women Lead TV, visit us at nationalwomenofcolor.com. Again, that's nationalwomenofcolor.com.
The law office of Austin Pammies Norris Weeks Powell is a full-service law firm practicing in the area of governmental law, including the representation of municipalities, civil litigation, personal injury, real estate, and corporate transactional matters. With over 100 years of collective experience, our attorneys are admitted to practice before state courts, federal courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We are conveniently located in downtown Fort Lauderdale and can be reached at 954-768-9770. Or for more information about the law firm of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell, visit our website at apnwlaw.com. That's apnwlaw.com.
Welcome back to Women Lead. We are pleased to have with us attorney Greg Francis, civil rights lawyer and author of the book, Just Harvest. Welcome to the show, Mr. Francis.
Ladies, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you were successful in settling a case on behalf of black farmers who are believed to have suffered systemic discrimination at the hands of the United States Department of Agriculture between 1981 and 1996. Tell us about this case, how you got involved, and the current status.
I initially got involved in this black farmer case as a result of running a law office in Mississippi. We did some advertising for other types of cases, but we kept getting calls about this black farmer case. So after I heard more about it and ultimately had a group of a set of brothers who were farmers come from Texas and Oklahoma to meet with me and talk to me about the treatment that they had been receiving. And once I had that conversation with them, I was committed to ensuring that they would get justice in this case. The USDA, in fact, did studies of their own, and ultimately, after the lawsuit was filed, they decided that they wanted to resolve the case because there was more than enough evidence to indicate that there was discrimination against the black farmers as a whole.
Black farmers have suffered staggering foreclosure rates as compared to white farmers. Do you know why that is?
It's the lack of resources. What the black farmers experience out in rural America is probably an exacerbation of what goes on in much of the rest of America. But specifically, the Farm Loan Association with the USDA is supposed to be in place to provide mortgages for black farmers, and just the numbers indicate that black farmers are not getting the type of support, the type of consideration that the white farmers are getting.
The percentage of farmland owned by black farmers is just 0.5%, but it wasn't always this way. Give us a historical perspective, if you would.
You know, if you go back to 1920, 15% of all farmers were black farmers, and they provided almost 30% of the food that was put on the plates of Americans every day. So to go from that level of participation, that level of engagement of black farmers, to when I got involved in the case, and in fact, there were probably less than 20,000 farmers at that time, is staggering, and it's staggering because of the lack of financial resources that were denied the black farmers, just systemically all across the country, mainly the South.
Many black farming families particularly lost their land due to the heirs property laws. What are these laws, and why have they been so detrimental to black landowners and black farmers in particular?
The interesting thing about heir laws is that it's not something that has been devised for black farmers or against black farmers. Heir property is an issue that goes on throughout much of America, but especially in the black farming community. Because what happens is that there are the farmers who own the land, and then they have children, and they never have any type of will as to how the land should be passed on to the next generation. So what happens is mommy and daddy farmer pass away. They have 5 kids. Now, without any will, they have to split that land 5 ways, or there are 5 owners of that land now. They probably live in different parts of the country. They're not farmers. They're not involved. It's just a piece of land to them, and they're not paying the taxes on it. So what would happen is either someone would come in on a tax bill or in a tax lien and acquire the property, or In fact, it becomes so diluted in terms of passing from generation to generation that they're just never able to figure it out, and no one pays the taxes on it, and someone comes and buys it.
Many black farmers were historically denied loan applications by the USDA due to their race. On the other hand, there's research showing that white farm applications were processed within 30 days, while the average processing time for black farmers was 387 days. Has that changed at all?
There has been fits and starts where for a while it got better, but quite frankly, in the Trump administration, it got back to probably how it was much earlier in the 19th century. Less than 0.1% of all farm aid given out during the Trump administration went to black farmers. So I think that is changing now some with the new administration. There has been appropriation set aside in the new funding bill for black farmers, although there have been lawsuits filed to block that at the time. But at least there's an awareness of this discriminatory treatment, and at least an attempt by the current administration to address it.
In your book, you described lessons that you learned from black farmers. Share with us some of those lessons.
One of the main lessons I learned from black farmers is the benefit and the power of family and the power of identity. Many of these farmers would be out in these rural areas, and it's much different than how I live, and probably anyone who's watching this lives. They are separated to the point where family is everything, and they work together in order to produce a crop and take the harvest and understand that there's hard work there. And there's something to be gained from the experiences of hard work and then ultimately receiving the benefits of the harvest.
At the beginning of the century, black farmers owned 20 million acres of land. Today, they own less than 3 million acres. Is the reduction of black-owned farmland reversible?
I am an optimist, so I am hopeful that some of that can be reversed. But really, we have to have an awareness, and we have to have black farmers, young black farmers, who are actually interested in farming. I think that's the only way to really address that.
You created a Greg A. Francis Just Harvest Foundation. What is the purpose of your foundation, and how will it help to curb racial discrimination?
The Greg Francis Just Harvest Foundation was founded to address many of the things that I saw as a result of the discrimination that the black farmers experience. First of all, there is the lack of, or the breakdown of, the actual family. What Greg Francis Just Harvest Foundation is doing is we have invested in a transition home that will allow families who are they have that gap where they want to go from renters to owners. So they move in the house for 6 months. They receive financial education and budgeting and understanding mortgages. And at the end of those 6 months, they're given the money that they paid in rent back, with the hope that they will then take that money and go out and buy a home. And the numbers have shown that about 80% of the folks who actually participate in the program buy a home within a year or so. Also, with the Just Harvest Foundation, we have contributed money to develop a fellowship at the University of Florida Law School. That's my alma mater, where I went to law school. And I thought it appropriate that I plant seeds back there with a scholarship to graduates of HBCUs who want to attend the University of Florida, and this scholarship will provide them with the financial resources in order to be able to do that.
Of course, many people rightly focus on the monetary size of the $1.25 billion judgment you won for black farmers. But that suit also brought about changes in how the USDA deals with civil rights. Tell us about those changes.
This case was really about awareness, and it was about finding a period of time that we could definitively show that the black farmers had been discriminated against. Look, the discrimination goes way back prior to 1981. However, in that 15-year period of time, because we were able to demonstrate that, I think there's a new awareness, an awareness of the treatment that the black farmers have received and the results of that and what effects that has had on black farmers and America, quite frankly. You know, black farmers were some of the most successful entrepreneurs coming out of slavery, despite their obstacles, despite the challenges that they had. But once the USDA got involved and started providing support for other farmers and not black farmers, leaving them out, we have the results that we've had.
The litigation on behalf of black farmers took years, and your clients were very much the underdogs against the nearly limitless resources of the federal government. How were you able to stay the course and prevail?
You know, I'm originally from Panama, and I have very strong Caribbean roots, and along with those Caribbean roots, a very strong belief in faith. So those are some of the things that I relied on initially, but also the power of identity. My grandmother and grandfather would always instill in me that there was something special that I needed to do, that I needed to be involved in, and I actually believed them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis, for being with us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with our next guest, Florida Department of Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried.
At the Women of Color Empowerment Institute, our mission is to enhance and expand leadership by women of color. We do this in a variety of different ways, including but not limited to providing mentorship opportunities for young professionals where we assist in helping to create paths to leadership. We empower women to develop capacities for social change. We produce programs that promote heritage awareness, and we provide training opportunities for business and government. Our institute holds seminars focused on professional success techniques, and we host many other events such as our popular Advocates for Change and Leaders Connect. The Women of Color Empowerment Institute publishes a magazine called Women Lead. Our signature event is the Women of Color Empowerment Conference, a yearly conference where hundreds of leaders gather from all across the United States and beyond. To learn more about membership and how you can support our programs or be a sponsor of the Women Lead TV, visit us at nationalwomenofcolor.com. Again, that's nationalwomenofcolor.com.
The law office of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell is a full-service law firm practicing in the area of governmental law, including the representation of municipalities, civil litigation, personal injury, real estate, and corporate transactional matters. With over 100 years of collective experience, our attorneys are admitted to practice before state courts, federal courts, and the United States Supreme Court. We are conveniently located in downtown Fort Lauderdale and can be reached at 954-768-9770. Or for more information about the law firm of Austin, Pammies, Norris, Weeks, Powell, visit our website at apnwlaw.com. That's apnwlaw.com.
Welcome back to Women Lead. We are pleased to have with us Nikki Fried, Florida Department of Agriculture Commissioner. Welcome to the show, Commissioner Fried.
Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for having me on for the show. It is such a great pleasure to be with you.
Commissioner, we understand that there was a USDA program that would have provided $4 billion in debt relief to black farmers. This program has been halted due to lawsuits claiming an unfair advantage for black farmers. Tell us about this debt relief program and what you are doing to bring it back.
First of all, this program is such a huge step forward on attacking the systemic racism that has been happening with the USDA for generations. And so what this program would have done is it would have allowed for those that are socially disadvantaged, so not just black farmers, but everything from Native Americans to Hispanic, Asian, and everything in between, getting access to this money to repay loans that they may have received either from private or from the USDA. And unfortunately, there are lawsuits happening all across the country from white farmers who are saying that this is discriminatory on its face. So what we've been doing is not only talking about this program all across the state of Florida, getting more people just already enrolled, in constant communication with the USDA, Deputy Secretary as well, who's come here to Florida a couple of times and already have done, whether it's a press conference or just informational sharing sessions with the farmers that would be impacted by this. A tremendous step forward, and certainly applaud the Biden administration for making this a top priority.
How would the debt relief program that you're championing impact generational wealth for Black farmers? And how would it impact the state of Florida as a whole?
This program would have really gone into the heart of what I've heard so many times from a lot of our Black farmers, is they didn't have the same competitive equilibrium, I would call it, than the rest of the white farmers. Not only not access to capital, but that once they actually did receive some capital, sometimes the interest rates were a lot higher than potentially their competitors. And so they really didn't have the opportunities to not only buy land, but also expand, whether it's irrigation programs, whether it was also buying more additional land or tractors or other things that would have been able to be utilized on their farm. So this would have been a tremendous asset for the farmers in our state, finally giving it just an equal footing to a lot of our other traditional farmers here in our state. And unfortunately, over the last 20 years, we've seen a tremendous decline in our Black farmers here in the state of Florida. So those that are still here, giving them just an opportunity to succeed, an opportunity to be competitive with the rest of their colleagues in the industry.
Since you have been the Commissioner of Agriculture, what has been the most surprising information that you have discovered about the plight of the Black farmer in Florida?
It's unfortunate what has really happened here with our Black farmers, and the stories that I've heard all across the state where farmers have gone in and tried to get loans and have either been denied or not given a proper information, not having even the resources to write grant dollars that would have given them access to money, not just from the state of Florida, but from the USDA and the federal level. And to know how blatant it was is really what was the most shocking about the entire conversations that I've had with so many of our Black farmers. And knowing that here in the Panhandle, for instance, let's just say hypothetically there was $500 million of different loans and grant dollars that could have been given out. And yet 80% of it went to white farmers, where 80% of the population are Black farmers. So the fact that it was so in your face and so blatant, I think was the most surprising aspect that I've been really hearing as in my time as commissioner.
Are there any statistics about the amount of farmland still owned by Black farmers in the state of Florida? And where are most of these farmers located?
So there are about roughly 2,500 Black farmers all across the state of Florida. And this has gone down almost 200% in the last couple of decades. And they're all over the state of Florida. And the problem with this, and what I've heard a lot from our Black farmers and trying to bring a community together, is that there isn't one centralized location as far as information gathering and where all of our Black farmers are located. They're all over the state of Florida. You know, some down in Homestead. We've got a lot in the Panhandle, Central Florida. And there is a Black Farmers Association, but I don't know how active it is. Because again, there's 2,500, and from the Black farmers that I've spoken to, they don't know who each other are. So it's been my job to try to get as much information out there, try to bring everybody together so they can share stories, share success stories, and really utilize their voices collectively to make a great impact here in the state.
We know that nationwide, Black farmers lost a lot of property due to foreclosures. Was this pattern the same in Florida?
You know, this has just been a historic problem all over the country, where Black farmers just weren't able to get the loans that they needed to have the different enhancements onto their property, get the newest technology, innovation. And so many of their white farmer colleagues were able to get access, and so they just couldn't be competitive. And at the end of the day, had to either sell their land, or unfortunately, we saw a lot of foreclosures too in the last couple of decades.
What bright spots, if any, do you see on the horizon for Black farmers?
Black farmers are some of the most resilient of our agriculture industry members across the entire state. They have a fight inside of them that I've never seen before. And so I think that the hope is that they are going to continue fighting, coming up with new types of crops to grow. And when I first became Commissioner of Agriculture, we legalized hemp, which is a cousin of the marijuana plant. And so we know that all of our Black farmers were kept out of the licensing structure in the medical marijuana program because, again, part of the medical marijuana program was a prerequisite to have a 30-year, 400,000 plant capacity farm. And as we've been talking about, that most of our Black farmers didn't have the type of access to capital as their white farmers did. And so 30 years ago, our Black farmers didn't have land. And so it was really important that we provided a new avenue for the cannabis plant for our Black farmers and farmers in general. And a lot of our Black farmers have really taken advantage of this, are starting to look at hemp as an alternative. And again, this is going to be an access point where they can start to grow this cannabis plant. And then hopefully when we get to legalization or an expansion of the medical marijuana program, that they'll now have already the infrastructure and the knowledge of how to grow this plant and can easily transition into whether it is a legalization or even the medical program.
You have been quoted as saying, "It has been nearly impossible for farmers of color to acquire land, access funding, and get farms off the ground, and that it's made harder a lot of times by our federal agencies like the U.S. Department of Agriculture." What exactly has been the USDA's role in limiting the opportunities for Black farmers?
One is that there are grants that come through from the USDA, but because so much of the USDA and the administrators and the people that work there look like me, well, not like me because I'm a female, but old white men in this industry. And so there is a barrier when a Black farmer walks into a USDA office or an FSA office and starts asking questions about loans and different programs in place. And there's already kind of this general sentiment of, can you really apply? Do you really have the right resources and the backing? And then a lot of times, even when the loans are available or different grant dollars, one, they don't have the extra resources in order to have a grant writer on staff because they are it. They're the ones who are working the land, going out there, running their business, and don't have extra resources and time to actually write the grants. And then when it comes to the loan side of things, as we all know, banks want assurances that you're going to be successful, and how are you going to repay the loan? And if this is the first time that you've owned land or starting a business, it's a lot harder to get into the industry. So the USDA has really put in a lot of barriers, some intentional, some unintentional. But unfortunately, these are things that I was hearing from Black farmers and numerous roundtables that I've had from just conversations with Black farmers. So we got to find a way to not only, bring our resources together, give them the tools to go after this grant money, to be, breaking down barriers for access to the capital. This is the only way that people can be successful. And it's not just agriculture. You hear that all the time with minority, small business owners and new entrepreneurs who are trying to get into a new space. That it's hard. It's hard to get somebody to trust you and to believe in you and give you the money that you need in order to start up your businesses, and in this case, farms.
Commissioner Freed, it was great having you as a guest today. Thank you for joining us. And that's our time today. Until the next time,
Be empowered.